Let's slap a new coat of paint on it and call it a new review. It's STR Remastered. Well, hey collectors, it's going to be Steven here, and welcome to a remastered, kind of sort of not really review of the original S.H.MonsterArts Shin Godzilla. Godzilla 2016, the fourth form. No, this is not going to be the Night Combat version that just came out in Japan. This is going to be the OG Shin Godzilla in all of 4K glory, and I've got better lighting, better camera techniques, so we're going to go back and take a look at the original on the advent of the new repaint that is coming out. And the new repaint is going to be available to US retailers, oh joy, because the original release and subsequent releases up until the Frozen version were not available to US retailers. So thank you, Bandai Collectibles, for making that happen. Now, enough of that. The original release, oh boy, as we know, historically, it was a train wreck. And now, so many years later, I think it warrants another look at it, because with the new repaint coming out, a lot of folks are going to wonder if they should go back and take a look at the original release, if they should even consider that, or if they should focus on the new one. Of course, I will be reviewing the new one. I just have to get that first. So please, give me a chance to get it. All right? Thank you. So let's take a look to see why you shouldn't add this one to your collection if you haven't already. Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride. All right, so the purpose of this review is to not remove the original. That's going to stay up, but this review is meant to be a supplement to the original, because now, like I sort of said at the top, we have the chance to view this in 4K quality, better lighting techniques, and better camera techniques. So the moral of the story is still the same. This figure doesn't matter how you look at it. So you can close out of the video now if you want and go about your day. I already got you at nearly the 2-minute mark now. But to get into the minutia of the figure, I guess as we go throughout the figure and talk about the details and the quality, yes, Takayuki Takiya did assist in the sculpting and the overall painting on the prototype, along with a few others who assisted in the general creation of this figure. They worked on the actual model for Shin Godzilla, which was used in the movie, but when it comes to the actual execution of the figure, it's just essentially a train wreck. And now, about this point from when I'm recording the audio and from where I'm estimating will be for the actual sculpt and paint of the figure, let's talk about the head sculpt. Generally speaking, some in the community, including myself, believe that maybe Shin Godzilla was ultimately sculpted with the idea that the mouth would be open. And when he is open-mouthed, looks relatively fine with no issues. When the mouth is closed, that's where it kind of goes cattywampus, and the head just is not accurate. We'll talk about accuracy overall in a second. But for the eyes, they don't do it. For whatever reason, it's very difficult for a good amount of people in the community to not understand that the chaos that is for Shin here, or even for the original 1954, the MonsterArts there with the eyes, it's the same thing. It's not just straight googly eyes on the figure and what you get is what you get. No, for the actual design of the creature, down and to the side. Now, they're both meant to be like somewhat symmetrical, asymmetrical, I guess, but they're both meant to be the same. They're not meant to be in different directions. They're both to match like this, okay? And here's a reference shot in the middle of what Shin looks like. Now, here is what the left side on its own looks like and the right side on its own look like, and this isn't it, Chief. This isn't it. So the eyes, pretty much production-wide, even on the reissue, they're not accurate. And this even goes back to 1954 MonsterArts as well, okay? It doesn't add up. The eyes aren't accurate. Now let's continue to talk about the figure. Now for the sculpt, overall, as we saw with the G-Store exclusive version of this sculpt of Shin Godzilla, we know that the sculpt is mwah. It's not perfect, it's not accurate, but the sculpted details are amazing. For this particular release, again, even for the reissue, which I'll touch on in a second, the paintwork just muddies up the details, and it really, really hides the fantastic sculpt that is found here. Again, not accurate, but you don't necessarily have to have accuracy when it comes to the finer details. And then this figure has basically been handled very well. It's been on my review table, it's been on my shelf, not scraped, not scratched, not thrown in a box and then taken back out. And it has a whole bunch of scratches and scrapes and scratched up paint, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't have any other MonsterArts figures that are like this. Then let's couple this with, I know now why there were some joints on this figure which were loose, even back when I got it out of the box, but we'll save that for the articulation section. Now, when it comes to the reissue, which admittedly I don't have in hand, but I have seen pictures of, very clear quality pictures of, and I've spoken to people who have both the original and reissue, effectively the quality is going to be basically the same. Same factory, same production methods, so on and so forth. So yeah. Overall, the original release of the MonsterArts Shin Godzilla is disappointing when it comes to the sculpt and paint because, long story short, yes, the actual foundation of the figure is great and the sculpt is amazing, but when you have shoddy paintwork that just muddies the details, what does it matter? Especially when it just scrapes over the years. All right, so articulation, and I'm hoping something that I do need to talk about isn't spoiled before I talk about it. So let's move very, very carefully here. All right. So the head overall opens up on the top on a ball joint. You can kind of rock it around. And then the bottom portion opens and closes on a ball joint as well. So we can move both portions of the jaw effectively in different directions. So we can kind of get goofy looks, and I'm being very careful to move this because there's a spoiler here, okay? So we can get a whole bunch of different looks, including getting like a real nasty overbite if we do want, or we can adjust it appropriately and we can get Shin's mouth to close appropriately. Then we have this section of the neck, which is going to be on a ball joint. As you can see, it moves around. There were a couple of instances of people who unfortunately had stuck joints here and it broke. So do be careful of that. If you do happen to get this and it is broken, just something to keep in mind. Then here we do have a ball joint as well. So just by this neck system, we can get Shin to look in a whole bunch of different directions, which is great for photography. Let me move this figure very carefully. Okay. Now, for just kind of a head-on look here, so this way we get a good idea, Shin has a whole bunch of ball joints connected for the arm systems. So here, in particular, this was a problem child for a lot of people. This left arm had frozen ball joints in the shoulders, which mine are kind of tight, and this resulted in some breakage for people. So make sure you're just moving these very carefully, and when you do move them, because even towards his little elbows, that's a ball joint as well. So to talk about the bicep, we do have a ball joint there, so we can even get ball joint swivel-like action there. So if you do want to get the arms to move at a swivel, we're good. The wrists are on ball joints. For many people, the left wrist had ball joint issues with the wrist popping off, and mine had that, but I heated up this section here, and then I popped it in real good. No issues since then. So Shin can move his arms around, but realistically speaking, even in the movie, he didn't really move his arms around that much. Or in the Evangelion short with Shin Ghidorah, if you will. So it is what it is. Moving back, let's talk about the main body. We have a system of ball joints here. So we have basically an ab crunch and a waist joint. You can see over the years it's kind of gotten loose, which I am slightly worried about. Spoilers. But nevertheless, we can twist and turn Shin. And because of that, we can get Shin Godzilla to really lean over very far, which is good. Let me adjust the tail here, if you don't mind. Well, looks like the tail popped off. So, okay, let me go back to the arms real quick so we can see a full range of movement there, which is good. Which is good. All right, for the legs, we have ball joint movement. Pretty good. You can kick up about that far, kick back about that far, and then you can do the splits to the sides like that. For the knees, he has hinge-like movement, but those are going to be ball joints pretty much, so something to keep in mind there, because he can rock his knees out to the side like that, and then we do have basically ankle rockers with ball joints there. Forward and back, all good to go. So now we move on to the tail. You see a little bit of a coating there of something, all right? So, whoops, that's fine as well, because this one had it too, and yeah, great. So, we already saw the scuff marks on the tail that I took a picture of. And then to talk about the tail, we do have ball joint movement, which, oh, hey, that was an original joint that liked to pop off. So the tail does move and groove and has a whole bunch of ball joints, and it likes to take real weird shapes, and that's fine, right? So the tail can really twist around. Now, back in my original review, those were some of the problem areas. In my original review as well, those segments pretty much did pop off. I was a little bit gentle, and I wanted to save a little bit of face and not really have something that you constantly popped off just because it didn't look good, but I did cite that it was loose. So with being a better, I don't want to say reviewer, but I guess a better action figure caretaker, and knowing floor polish, the pledge trick, and knowing how heat works to take care of different joints. So let's take a look at this section for an example. So you can see that there's the ball joint here and there's the socket here. Okay, so each section pretty much of Shin's tail is going to be a piece of sculpt. And then in there, there's going to be one whole joint that runs in the middle. So it's not like, a socket is seated here and then the ball joint is seated on the other side and they're sculpted in the middle. No. That joint runs all the way through. So it's literally this socket, then a piece of plastic that connects this socket to the ball joint. Okay? Well, it's been broken. Yep, the socket's been broken. And considering the Shin has pretty much either been on the review table, on the shelf, or in its box, that's the reason why the joints, let's cut back to the video, have been loose. So I don't know how long it's been broken. I don't know if the tail joints have been broken since this figure was in the box and I took it out of the box. I don't know if at some point something happened where I accidentally broke it from when I opened it up until just, a couple weeks ago when I really tried to fix this. But the joints have been loose. So I don't know what to say aside from my Shin's been broken. So one way or another, I need the Night Combat. So the articulation in theory is good, but now this begs the question, if this was something that happened over time, Godzilla Ultima, when is your time up? Or any of the other Shin Godzillas, really. Yeah. All right, there are going to be no accessories, so let's go ahead and get on over to a size comparison, which, over the years in my reviews and other pictures that have been online, you pretty much have a good idea of how big he is, so it's just going to be rather quick, short, sweet, and to the point. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Again, just to recap, the paintwork is not very good and it appears to not have been sealed correctly. And the sculpt, yeah. Articulation, solid, but we've had plenty of quality control issues that have popped up, including broken arms. And with the tail being broken for mine, again, could it have been out of the box? I didn't notice it then. Just recently taking a look at it, what are we, 2016? It's now 2023. It could have been broken at any point there, and maybe it was just loose. I don't know. Overall, this release of Shin was absolutely disappointing, but we do have the Night Combat version that is coming out, and effectively, this release is rendered obsolete. We now have pictures that have come out for the Night Combat version that have even been posted in my Discord. You're going to want to head on over there. Link will be in the description if it didn't pop up on the screen already. And we've been talking about that. Again, I will be reviewing that, so subscribe so this way you see it, but yeah, there's zero reason to pick this up. Don't pay aftermarket prices, just forget about this, get the new one, and this one is gone. Oh, you thought you'd get away from one of these, did ya? Hey collectors, that's going to wrap up the video today, and as always, thanks for watching, commenting, sharing, subbing, it all helps. I always enjoy responding to comments, so be sure to drop one down below and I will respond if I can. I do have supporters on Patreon as well, and each review gets an end card to show who is supporting each month, so here are the end cards. Camera batteries, SD cards, even hard drives. It's not possible without that support, so thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Here's the final end card, so this way you can click subscribe, check out another video, or even check out the social media outlets. you want to. Before we end today, as in the description, there may be paid ad space, affiliate links, or product samples that were sent out in this video, so please check out the STR ad disclosure. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.